Hey everyone, we have Sean Fagan here, known as the Muay Thai Guy. I just wanted to introduce and welcome him. Welcome to our podcast.
Appreciate it, Paul. Excited to chat and catch up with you.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for taking the time and joining us from which part in Thailand?
I'm in Koh Samui, Thailand right now.
Koh Samui. Oh boy, people talk about that like a paradise almost, right? Really nice, isn't it?
It is very much so. Yeah, we're lucky to be stuck here while the COVID world is happening. So there's worse place to
Yeah.
be stuck for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we're going to get into that. But I wanted to actually ask you, I wanted to first introduce yourself, a little bit of history behind you and your whole mission. Um, I know you from back when you were a fighter, and that's in New York City, Friday Night Fights, and with everything over there. Um, I remember that you started on this journey way back then. I believe your goals back then was you wanted to fight, but then you had this dream, I guess, right, to go to Thailand. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so my goals and dreams have definitely evolved over time as I've continued on my career both as a fighter and an entrepreneur. When I first started fighting, I'll tell you a quick, long version of the long story. But when I was like 19 or 20, I just started training Muay Thai, and I really wanted to fight. But where I was, I kept having fights fall out. Since I was just a beginner, a lot of people would back out last minute, and so what I ended up doing, I was reading a book called The Fighter's Heart by Sam Sheridan. And I was also reading a book called
Mm,
The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And at the time I was reading both those books, I also won an online poker tournament for about 15 grand. And I also just
oh
got
wow.
fired from my job. My lease was ending and I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. So all stars aligned for me to go to Thailand to try to fight and see if it's something that I really enjoy. And so I
Mm,
went to Thailand. I had my first three fights. I did pretty well. And after that, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to make this my life and try to dedicate my life to Muay Thai and helping spread the sport, be an ambassador for the sport, because it's really helped me shed layers of myself and grow into
mm,
a better version of myself. And it's ultimately just a tool to self development. And every time I fight, I continuously evolve, and it became an addicting endeavor where I just wanted to keep getting that next high because it's hard to replicate the euphoric feeling you get after you win a fight because you put so
yeah,
much time and effort into it, so much sacrifice with the weight cutting, with your social life, with everything. And so winning is
yeah.
a really surreal feeling. But I also knew that Muay Thai doesn't pay the bills, and it's not a
Mm,
sport you get into to be a Conor McGregor, if you will. And so I was well aware early in when I first started that if I really wanted to live the type of lifestyle I wanted to and have the type of impact I wanted to, I would have to make more money doing that. So that's when I simultaneously began the Muay Thai Guy blog. I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. I'm still figuring it out as I go, but now all the stars have kind of aligned and things are starting to be a little bit more set in place. And now I'm just on to the next stage.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And that's just a very quick summary. I know you've been through a lot of hardships along the way, and starting a blog is from scratch is not easy, right? I mean, this was how many years ago? When did you start the blog?
Uh, at least 10 years ago, and I really had no clue
Wow.
what to do. I just started writing and trying to essentially it was a training journal of sorts. And then
Hmm.
my followers started reading and asking questions, and so I started writing blogs about the questions and answering their questions. And then I started creating videos, and then I started creating the podcast, and it all just kind of cascaded on top of one another until it became this behemoth that it is today. And I'm still trying to
Wow.
grasp onto like the impact I'm able to have. It's really I'm just really grateful to be in the position I'm in.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And when you look back at, when you first started, I'm sure your goals obviously must have changed over the years, right? So initially, from the initial idea to say, hey, I want to make this my life. I'm not sure how I'm gonna make money off of this, but I'm gonna start to, I guess, build a following? Was that your like what was your goal? Because a blog doesn't make money, right? Like I don't think it does right away, especially. So as an entrepreneur, you read the 4 Hour Work Week, and then you've got also the Muay Thai side that you love. Like how did those come together, and how did that really, you know, enable you to continue? Because it's not, it's not cheap. It's not to go to Thailand and live. Like
Mhm.
it's not easy, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned before, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and early in my career, both as an entrepreneur and fighter, there were uh, some downs that I've never had to deal with before, in regards to just like financially and emotionally, dealing with
Mm,
the just the volatility of being a entrepreneur, going out on a limb, trying to make money, not knowing how to make money online, but just
mm,
trusting myself that I'll be able to figure it out. Fortunately, I'm with my wife Liz, who's been with me pretty much since the beginning, and she's
mm.
always believed in me and my crazy ideas. And when everyone else was kind of not laughing at me, but doubting the idea of a blog being able to make money, the idea of being able to start an online business, be able to become a professional Muay Thai fighter, it all sounds crazy
Wow.
when you're not doing it, right? When you're in the beginning
Yeah.
stages. But Liz always believed in me. So when I was struggling, trying to make ends meet, she was working more and paying the bills and allowing me to have the opportunity to really dive deep into the online business realm. And so initially when I first started, I didn't really have much of a goal. I like my main goal was to become a champion fighter.
Mm,
And a lot of the reasons I got into Muay Thai were relatively superficial. I'm not going to lie. And it was a lot of a ego thing where I really wanted to prove to myself that I was capable and I was able to handle myself and just to look cool. But as I
yeah.
got more and more enveloped in the sport, I realized that there was so much more to be uncovered through fighting. And so as I continued to fight, my goals started to shift. And I realized that my main what I feel most fulfilled and most purposeful when I'm able to change people's lives or have some type of impact on the world that creates a ripple effect. And fighting, although it gives me a platform and it allows me to have this reputation where people look up to me as a pro fighter, I knew that that was just I was just scratching the surface with uh, my ability to have impact. So I knew the
Yeah.
entrepreneurship realm and the business realm and making enough money was going to have the biggest was the biggest factor in me being able to actually find more meaning and purpose behind my day-to-day life. Because at one point, fighting kind of became like a hollow endeavor. To be honest, it kind of felt a little
Mm,
pointless at times. I've always been able to find a why, but with COVID and everything recently, I've really had a chance to sit back and reflect and think about things. And now my
hmm.
why has changed, and I'm trying to figure out the next phase in my journey.
Yeah, and that's and I'm gonna go just a little bit back before COVID. Excuse me. You're competing in Thailand. You also competed, around the world. You competed back in New York as well, right? Was majority of your experience in Thailand though? Like, would you say, since you did make the move, or was it a back and forth, back and forth?
Well, I always travel to Thailand almost every year after my first trip,
Mm,
and I always have at least a couple fights. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's around 50-50, I would say. I think I have a little bit more
mm.
fights in the States than I do Thailand, but in the past 3 years, it's only been Thailand. And I really
Wow.
enjoy the Thai style of fighting more so than the Western style of fighting back in the States. It's much more of a game, if you will, and it's like a
Yeah.
chess game here in Thailand. Where in
Yes.
the States it
Yeah.
can kind of just be a brute force thing, and I really
Yeah.
enjoy fighting Thais at their own game because it really is a very cerebral thing.
Wow. So it's really like a lot of mind games, I guess, in the ring, from what I see.
Yeah, I mean, right? It's like pattern setting, breaking patterns, using certain fakes and feints to set up certain strikes. It's just an extra layer to it because anyone can throw a punch or kick with like good technique. You get to a certain level where you know the technique, but how do you implement it? How do you actually land it? And then you also have to focus on the defensive side of things. And I wish I focused more on defense when I first started, but I was very hard headed. I was just like, I'm the tougher guy. I'll be more aggressive. I'll work the guy. But then as
Yeah.
I continued to fight, and so I had a broken arm, I broke my nose, broken ribs, and I realized that after like when you're young, when you're in your 20s, you recover really, really quickly. But then as you get older, it takes a little bit longer to recover. And so then I started
Yeah.
to really realize the importance of defense and movement and that kind of stuff. And so yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely been a trip.
So it's contrary to the belief that the Thais just, get together and they just brawl it out, right? Like to the naked eye, a lot of people think that they're just tough. Thai boxers are known to be tough. Muay Thai fighters are known to be tough. They just go there and they just trade. But there's actually a lot of thought and a lot of uh, how do you say, they're not really taking everything the way we think that they're taking it, right? For example, some
Mhm.
elbows are blocked when we don't see that they're blocked, or they're partially blocked or absorbed in a
Mhm.
way, right? Knees, same thing. Kicks, same thing. So, in your eyes, when we first, all of us started Muay Thai, we were attracted to, I'm sure, the brute force, the strength, just the raw power of it. I'm assuming you're the same as me.
Mhm.
That's what I,
For sure.
yeah. But now, as we practice it more, for decades, and we see that we still love it, um, it's the chess game. It's I guess the technical, the strategy, the feints. I'm sure it's all that we enjoy now, right? And this, as you progress, right? Am I not
Very much
mistaken?
so. Yeah, for sure. And also just like understanding the mental side behind everything and understanding what's going through a fighter's mind in the context of a fight. That's also a really big component that you don't really take in consideration when you first start watching fights. You just think you get in there and you fight and you don't really have to put too much thought into it because your training just takes over. And that's
Yeah,
true to an extent, but at the same time, you're still battling emotions. You're still trying to figure out the holes in your opponent's game. And yeah, it's been really fun to just grow with the sport. And the more you fight, the more you learn, not just about yourself, but the game. And it's just, yeah, you don't realize how intricate it is when you're watching it with the naked eye. But once you're actually more involved with it and you understand the finer details of how to set up certain strikes and how to win fights, then there's like so many different layers to it. It almost just explodes your mind.
and let me ask you something. From when you first started Muay Thai, I'm not sure. Did you start with was it with Jason Stroud? I don't know where you started Muay Thai
No, I
originally.
started upstate New York with my trainer JJ Russo and my training partner Chris
Oh,
Masseri, and it was essentially
okay.
just us three. And then
Wow,
we were all the same size, and so we were able to just really train a lot together, and
that's awesome.
that's where the foundation was built.
Wow, that's amazing. That's like early days Muay Thai, right? Like, are we
Yeah, very
talking,
much so.
when is that? Like early 2000 or late 90s is around then, or
No, I started training Muay Thai like 2009, 2010, I think.
oh, 2009. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And before that, I did a little bit of boxing. I did some MMA as well, but I just really took to the Muay Thai and stuck with that.
But you started martial arts prior to that, right? Like when did you first
No,
start martial arts? No?
that
Really?
that's when I first started martial arts. Yeah, I was always a team
Wow.
sport player. I played.
Okay.
I guess you could say my martial arts journey started with hockey. I would always end up fighting people and shit. So I
That's
remember
funny.
one game, I spent probably half the game in the penalty box just
Oh,
fighting and
wow.
starting shit with the other team. And my mom was at the game. And at the end of the game, she was like, "I don't understand why you play hockey. You should just join a boxing gym or something." And that was like the first thing that actually like
Yeah.
infiltrated my mind. I'm like, huh, that's actually a good idea. My mom regrets ever telling me that,
She's
but
like, I should have never
I'm
said
grateful
that.
she did. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Oh, so that's what I was trying to dig into. I was trying to find out a little bit more about Sean. Now, you're scrapping in hockey, I understand, and that's that's allowed. It's part of the sport.
Mhm.
What about outside of the sport? What about you as a young Sean in school? Like, were you a victim of bullying? Did you get into fights? Were you having trouble with your anger? Can you tell a
Mhm.
little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. Not a lot of people ask this question, so I'm not used to answering it. But
Okay.
I was bullied a little bit in like middle school and high school. There was a point I like got shoved in a locker a couple times when I was like a freshman in high school, and I was always like a skinny kid. I was always really insecure of my physique because I hated confrontation. The idea of fighting was like the worst thing to me. And I remember my friends, they would join a boxing club, they would do wrestling and all that kind of stuff, but I always shied away from it. I wasn't a
Mm,
popular kid by any means, but I wasn't like a loser either. I was kind of like in that middle ground, and I got along with like everyone. And because I played team sports, I knew all the cool kids, but because I didn't hang out with the cool kids, I knew all the, I guess, quote unquote, not cool kids. And so I just had like a really small friend group that we just kind of hung out with. But yeah, it was I didn't have like a tough childhood or anything by any means. I'm very lucky to have a loving family. I had good friends growing up. Um, and everything worked out. One of the turning points of my life though was like right after high school. One of my best friends was in a car accident and died, and that was kind of
oh
a
boy.
that was like the first real wake up call I would say I had in my life that was really just took me back, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel real. It was just a really tough experience to go through, and it took me
Hmm.
a while to come to terms with it and try to take any good that I could out from it.
Yeah.
But I was able to learn from a shitty situation, and because of his death, it really kind of just shined a light on how important and how short life is, and that really
Yeah.
kind of got my ass in the gear and started to really dig deeper into trying to find my purpose and try to find a reason
Mm.
behind this crazy life that we live.
Yeah, that's interesting because you bring up purpose, and that's really tough. Me being in my 50s now, the purpose changes, right? And you, of course, when you're young and then you started Muay Thai, you're a brand new fighter, and you have different mindset. Now, like, you're impacting people. Your content that you put out, you're in Thailand, but you don't realize, well, you probably do realize you're impacting a lot of people. A lot of people watch your content. My kids watch it. I watch it. A lot of people I know watch it here in the Western world, and we absolutely love what you're doing. And now your impact that you're putting out there, what's your goal with that? Like, because I know, like, originally it was like I just want to fight and I want to, sustain a living while I do this. But with putting out content, it's free content. You're putting out free content for people, right? Now,
Hmm.
that's a lot of work. Now, there
Indeed.
must be some gratification that you get out of this. Like there must be some, like I understand there's the entrepreneur side, you can build an audience and you can monetize it and stuff like that. But you kind of, from what I see, you've stayed true from the beginning up till even now with the quality of your content. So can you share a little bit about what your core values are surrounding the content that you put out? Because I haven't really seen it change in terms of the quality. The quality's been better and better, obviously, but it's always been clean, like Muay Thai technique. You kind of have a mission, and I just want to share that.
Yeah, the main reason I create the content is more or less just like I was saying before. I see Muay Thai as a way to better yourself, right? And so if people are able to immerse themselves into their training and better themselves by sharpening their technique and feeling more confident in themselves and being able to spar, defend themselves, getting in better shape, being more disciplined, being more aware of their thoughts, their emotions, their body, that's just a win for me. And it's like a selfish thing because I know that like it's selfishly, I like the feeling of helping people because it makes me feel good. So like it's it's like self It's a weird way to explain it, but I essentially just I've tried to just make the money. I've tried to just do things for yeah, essentially the money, but it never felt aligned. It never felt good, and so I have plenty of paid courses that people can buy, but I also understand that not everyone is in the situation where they can afford a membership or a premium course or whatever it may be. And so I want to make sure that just people have access to Muay Thai, because like when I first started Muay Thai online, there wasn't really much, and I saw a hole there for me to kind of fit in. And although I barely knew anything, and I probably shouldn't have been teaching some of the techniques I was teaching early on, I tried my best just to share what I was learning, where I was learning it, and yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of evolved over time. And I'm happy to always be waking up to emails or social media messages of how I'm able to impact people's lives, and it's really humbling. But I feel like I'm just getting started, to be honest, and I'm excited about the future as well. And so I'm just trying to stay consistent, just like with training. You know, you just show up every day. I do the same thing with work. I do the same thing with my relationships. I try to be a champion in all aspects of my life, and really
Hmm.
take that as I move forward.
That's important, and it sounds like you have things balanced right now. It sounds like you've got your training, you've got your business, you've got also, your mindset. You're a very humble person. You seem, you're very grounded. I've seen you mature over the years as well, and you're impacting the youth now, right? Because the youth now is not like the youth how you were or I was, in our
Mhm.
days. It's we are, they're bred off their mobile phones, off of YouTube, off of, social media, right? Now you
Yeah.
have, almost a responsibility, I guess, right? Because your content is different. There's tons of people out there putting out content for Muay Thai and kickboxing, and I don't want to say that they're misrepresenting it, because everybody has their own take, and respect to them for that. But to keep the authenticity to Muay Thai and share that culture from Thailand, directly from Thailand, from a person that was brought up in the West, like you understand both sides. So to me, that's amazing. That's simply amazing. How do you like stay true to that? Is it planned, or do you just think of, I'm going to give value and I'm going to impact people, and you know and that's going to work for you? Like you said that you did it money based and it didn't work for you. Like, can you kind of explain the difference between those two, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get caught chasing certain marketing tactics and strategies based off what you see on other social media posts or listen to podcasts, and it can really take you out of your comfort zone and out of your zone of genius. And so I would always be trying other things that didn't really feel aligned, and I in hindsight, I could feel it not being aligned, but I would still push through it anyway out of my just ignorance, I guess. And but through that, I've been able to learn to trust my gut and trust my instincts a little bit more. And so when it comes to just like the content I create and everything, I just try to be myself. And it's kind of hard sometimes, to be honest, when you're on camera and when you
It
know
is,
people
yeah.
are like hundreds or thousands of people are watching you. So I definitely have an on-camera personality and an off-camera personality, but I just want to make sure that entertaining people, educating people, helping people better themselves, and as long as those are my main reasons for creating the content, then I don't really care what people think, if they think it's bad advice or what. As long as my intentions are good and I'm trying to show up genuinely, then
Hmm.
it's all good. You know, it's easy to focus on that one critique or that one hater. Meanwhile, you have hundreds or thousands of people who are loving your stuff, but then that one guy
Yeah.
just comes out and can make you question everything. So I
Yeah.
just have been able to mature and learn about myself and learn what I'm okay with putting out there. And as long as it represents me and it represents my values, then I'm all good with it.
That's really good. That makes a lot of sense. And that sounds like great advice. Like, what would you advise for, young entrepreneurs? Like, you started 10 years ago. Now it's, is it too late for them? What do they do? Should they even do it? It's so crowded right now. I mean, or is that
Mhm.
just a Like what would you recommend for young entrepreneurs that want to, get started? They want to train Muay Thai, they want to train BJJ, whatever they want to train, right? Or they want to
Mhm.
follow their passion.
So first thing is, I don't want to have people fall into the limiting belief that like there's too many people doing what they want to be doing. Because the thing is, if someone's doing what you want to be doing, that means that it's working. And so there should be a way for you to kind of put yourself in that same situation, differentiate yourself, obviously, but you have some success to mimic now. And I've
Yeah.
been able to mimic other people's success in other fields like jiu-jitsu or MMA, but I use it in Muay Thai, and you could do the same kind of thing. But with entrepreneurship, just like with fighting, it's you put in a lot of work without seeing much results for a while, and you
Mm.
have to be long term. You have to have your sights set on the long term and not the short term gratification, because I didn't make any money for like 5 6 years, and it was really frustrating because I was trying really hard to make it work, and it's really easy to give up. It's really easy to, especially in the social media world nowadays, you see people. I don't know if you follow a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff, but my wife Liz is in the coaching field, and everyone
Mm.
talks about how they're like overnight successes and how they're just manifesting this money and how they're just putting it all
Yeah.
together, and they don't really share the truth of, like, they'll say something like they made 30K in 3 days or something like that, and that could be
Yeah.
true, but that doesn't really share the years of work that they put in leading up to that. It's like the
Yeah.
same concept of, you don't hire a plumber. Like, a plumber can come over and fix something in 5 minutes, but you still pay him for what he's worth, just because he takes something for 5 minutes as opposed to taking 5 hours. Like, it's
Yeah.
the same type of
I get it.
analogy, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's just important to really, well, the first thing is to, like, you have to have like a arrogant belief in yourself that you'll be able to fucking figure it out. And as long as
Mm.
I'm very stubborn, as you can ask my wife, and I just had a goal, I had a vision, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I just decided that I was going to get there at some point or another. And as long as you have the persistence and you just choose not to quit, then it's just a matter
Yeah.
of time. And it might take longer. It will take longer than you expect. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's my general piece of advice, is just knowing that it's not going to be easy. You got to believe in yourself. And it's definitely not too late. I don't even care at what age you're at. It's definitely not too late. There's so many different ways to become an entrepreneur, especially online nowadays. You can be an affiliate marketer,
Yeah.
you can create courses, you can do a number of different things. And so as long as
Hmm.
you're able to find, oh, another key thing is to find the right mentor. uh, that's been really key as well. And I've also invested a lot of, not just money in myself, but time in myself as well. And so when I was like in my early 20s, I was working full time as a waiter. I was training full time to fight. And then I was also working on my website and stuff. And so I didn't really have much time for a social life. When my friends were out on the weekends, I was in on the computer doing work that
Wow.
didn't really feel like it was amounting to anything. And sometimes some of the work that you do is completely meaningless, but you don't know it at the moment. And so you
Yeah.
just kind of have to realize that it's an investment and you have to make
Yeah.
sacrifices. But because I made those sacrifices, now uh, I'm freedom is a very core value of mine. And I have freedom. I have financial freedom. I can live where I want. I can do what I want. I don't have anyone telling me what to do. And I really value that. So I was able to keep that in my mind while I was building this business. And apologies, Thailand's calling me. And as long as I just kept really stuck with that core value of, I just want
Yeah.
complete autonomy, that complete freedom, then I was able to push through on days that sometimes I felt like this was all pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So So you brought up that you wake up every day and you have a few things. So how much does your routine? Because I mean, if you're saying it took you 5 years, nowadays it could be sooner for because there's more opportunity. I'm assuming these days
Oh, it
online,
should be like it
right?
shouldn't have taken me 5 years for sure. And like I made so many
Okay,
stupid mistakes, but that's the idea of hiring a mentor who's been
got it.
in the shit already, and they'll help you
Yeah,
limit the mistakes that you make and kind of jump the line. But you have to pay
yeah.
for that mentorship or find the mentorship. But in hindsight, if I were to do my stuff all over again, I would have definitely found a mentor way earlier than I
I
did.
see. That's great advice. And who is your role model or mentor or one of them?
Well, it's constantly changing depending on the
Yeah.
stage of life I'm in. But like first and foremost, my father has always been a role model to me. He's always just my parents in general. They've always believed in me, and like I'm kind of the black sheep of the family. I'm not. My older brother is a teacher. My younger brother is a paramedic. My whole family is a Navy
Wow.
family, but I didn't go to the Navy. I didn't go to. I dropped out of college. My both of my brothers graduated from college, and so I'm a little
Typical
different. But
entrepreneur.
yeah, right. But my parents always believed in me. They thought everything I was doing was crazy, but they believed that I had an idea for what I want to do. And while
That's
a lot of
amazing.
other people were kind of questioning what I was doing, even my parents would question me, but they would still believe that I could do what I was set out to do. That
That's
was really
amazing.
important. Other than that, honestly, the only mentors I've really had, I had uh, a business mentor in Dan Fagella. He was in the BJJ niche, and he reached out to me at a really crucial point where I almost gave up entrepreneurship. I almost gave up on Muay Thai Guy. I just did like a launch. It like didn't make any money, and I put so much time and effort into it. And then he just happened to reach out to me at the end of a trip to Thailand where I was completely broke, and he kind of just decided to mentor me in exchange for some exposure to his brand. And
Wow.
so he taught me a lot, and that was a really pivotal point in my entrepreneurial career. And then as a fighter, I've had so many. There's never been like one mentor. There's just
Yeah,
been
that's so
I,
true.
I don't know whether I
Yeah,
leapfrog from one another, but I just am fortunate to meet so many amazing people throughout my
yeah,
life that I'm able to learn a little bit
yeah.
from everyone. So it's just been kind of a group effort for the most part.
Yeah, it's so true even in my life or any other entrepreneur I speak to. It's there's a number of mentors. It's all about learning, right, from each other.
Mhm.
And that's amazing how that, that collaborated kind of reciprocated, like relationship you guys had. So that made that kind of pivoted things for you, kind of transformed. I guess, did it put things more in perspective into your goals with your business and with, maybe monetizing online, areas of focus? Is that what happened at that point?
Yeah, he essentially told me to make video courses, and that was like the aha moment. Like, oh fuck, of course, like it's Muay
Yeah,
Thai, it's a visual thing. Why am I not creating video courses? But it wasn't even so much creating them; it was learning how to market them, automate them, systemize them, and also just create sales funnels. Learn how to use ads. Learn how to write copy. Learn how to do all these things, and there's so much to learn as an entrepreneur. It's never ending. Just like as a martial artist, it's just like you never run out of things to learn, and that's kind of the beauty of it. But it's also like the pain of it is that knowing that
yeah,
you still the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything, kind of thing. And it's been a trip for sure, but that was definitely a pivotal point. And then that just allowed me to make some. It wasn't even crazy money. It was just like a couple $1,000s at the time, but that was like everything to me. That was like so much money to me, and I was like, wow, like I can actually do this.
yeah,
And now I'm able to. I was able to learn from a lot of other different mentors, and I took a lot of online courses. I'm very. I failed out of college, but I'm a good learner when I learn stuff that I want to learn. and
Yeah.
I got to choose what I wanted to learn and how I wanted to learn it, and that allowed me to really just evolve as an entrepreneur. And so now I'm at a point where I'm doing very well. I have a good team around me, so I could take a vacation and not even worry about my business if I wanted to. And yeah, that's the plan, is continue to scale, continue to grow, and then on to the next big thing that I want to do.
You know, this keeps coming up a lot, Sean, with a lot of entrepreneurs about the systems, right? The
Mhm.
systems that allow you to, to do this, right? And and was there, I mean, I understand you learned this from, from people and just experience, and you're saying, get a mentor and all that, and that's great too. Is there any books by chance that, like, are you a reader as well? And is there some books that you
So
might
many
have read?
books.
Yeah?
So many
Okay.
books, man.
Okay.
I'm a book nerd. The funny thing is I usually don't finish books, but I'll get like 70,
Same with me.
80% into them, and I'll be like, all right, I get the idea. You know, I learned
Yeah.
what I need to learn. Um, there are
Yeah.
so many books. So like, you're talking business books or like self-help books or
Like I would say something more entrepreneurial, like something that you can recommend for our viewers, like just one that you can, one or two that you think that would be, really important for them to change their perspective, so to speak, right?
um, Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield is a really good mindset one,
Turning Pro.
where
Okay.
you're essentially you, like this even goes as a fighter, right, or as an athlete. Before you're pro, if you want to go pro, you have to act like a pro even as an amateur. And it's the same idea as like an entrepreneur, right? And so
Interesting.
it's a pretty short read and it's really digestible. It has like short chapters and it's really insightful. So that's a really easy book to just kind of pick up and burn through. The E-Myth Revisited is also a very good book.
Yeah.
Talk about systems and being able to create your business so you can essentially franchise it or sell it, allows you to systemize it in a way that doesn't rely on you. Because when I first started, so like I'm the Muay Thai guy, right? I'm the face of it, and at a point, I'm tired of being the face of it, to be honest. So I need to figure out a way to kind of like put my like step away from it while
Hmm.
still being able to make it successful and being able to scale. And that kind
Hmm.
of gave me that mindset shift and gave me some tactical advice on how to go about doing that. Um, and then other than that, man, like there's so many great books on Kindle. I have a Kindle because I live in Thailand and just getting books here I like physical books, but it's just hard to get them all shipped out here. And then I travel so much, and traveling with books is a pain in the ass. So
Yeah,
with Kindle
that's true.
though, like I just go on a book buying spree usually like every other week or so, where I buy like 10
Wow.
or 12
Okay.
books, and I just kind of go through them. And I don't read books in the sense of like, I don't read every single word of every single book. I skim a lot. I get to the chapters that I know I want to get to. I get to the
Mm.
points that I know I want to get to. And so I kind of use it more of like, I kind of use books kind of like textbooks. You know, you don't read the whole
Mm.
textbook all the way through. You just kind of go from chapter to
Just
chapter.
reference it.
And that's how
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's really helped me out a lot. There's so many books I could recommend that it's almost like overwhelming. I can't even like think of because I know there's better books than those two books too. Um, but
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 Sean, that one keeps
nothing's coming
coming
to
up
mind.
by every guest I have. They bring up that book, The E-Myth Revisited, and
Oh yeah,
that was probably one of the only books I almost finished.
oh yeah, me
It
too,
it
me
it
too.
it, it really changed my honestly really changed my perspective. Like made me understand
Mhm,
the difference between an entrepreneur, a manager, and a technician that he calls
mhm.
it, right? And that changed it big, like for me running the gyms, and I was able to run more locations because of that book. It changed
Yeah,
my mentality.
I bet,
Yeah,
I bet.
it really helped a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah,
there's so many like reading. Oh, talk about like another tip for entrepreneurs is like you gotta read. You gotta like learn to
yeah,
love to read. Just like in Muay Thai, you gotta learn to love to run. You know, like
yeah,
you run no running, no Muay Thai. It's like no reading,
yeah.
no entrepreneurship. So
Wow, that makes
I
sense.
would,
That's pretty
yeah,
solid.
I would definitely make sure that like you need to be taking in good stuff, good
Mm.
ideas all the time, and always be just just getting that nourishment to your brain by reading, by meditating, by doing all that kind of stuff. Another really good book that I would recommend, that's not that's not a business book, but it's like it's the number one book that I recommend. It's by Napoleon Hill. It's Outwitting the Devil. He
Oh,
wrote Think and
writing
Grow
over
Rich,
down.
and that's
Yeah.
usually what people think about with him. But Outwitting the Devil, I think, is a better book. It's more enjoyable to read,
Oh,
and the context of it is he is essentially, you can't tell if he's actually interviewing the devil, if he thinks he's interviewing the devil, or if he wrote this as a like a trick, or
wow.
he's interviewing the devil on how the devil is able to kind of create this like make people living zombies, essentially just go through the motions of life, have no real purpose, procrastinate, just kind of
Wow.
lose sight, have all these vices and stuff. And there's some quotes in there that are so deep, and they hit the mark so hard. And it's one of his lesser known books, but it's definitely a book that I would recommend.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I honestly thought you were gonna say Think and Grow Rich. I was just waiting for that.
uh
Outwitting the Devil. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna try that out for sure. Hey, listen, I want to ask one thing about the current time now. Now, everything you've been doing online, your journey, everything's been amazing. Now the pandemic hits. You're in Thailand, you know, and how did that change for you? Like, did it help? Did it slow you down? Like, what happened? What was your first thoughts when it actually hit Thailand?
So honestly, it initially didn't change much of my life because I work from home. I have a home training setup. I'm an introvert. I don't like being around people most of the time anyway. And so it kind of was like almost an excuse to be a hermit and just be in my home all the time and work all the time. And so I
Validates it.
was like kind of happy about it.
Yeah.
And we also had a nice house on the sea. And so like it wasn't too bad at first. But as it continued to just kind of extend and things started to just kind of feel like just forever limbo, then there was a lot more things that I had to deal with mentally and emotionally in regards to just figuring out the direction that I want to go with life, and also just trying to stay sane with the lack of movement, because I'm used to traveling so much. Usually we'd be traveling every 3 months, hosting Muay Thai retreats around the world, and going back to the
Oh,
States
wow.
to see the family. But now we've been in Thailand on an island, nonetheless, for about 2 years straight. And it was definitely, again, a little stir crazy a little bit. But fortunately, I mean, I love reading. I love working. I love running. I love doing a lot of solo things. So it kind of allowed me to just kind of take a step back a little bit more and reflect on my values, reflect on my life, work on my relationship with my wife, with myself, and just enjoy life a little bit. Because as a fighter, and as so, like, it's crazy to think pre-COVID now, because pre-COVID, I was fighting like every other month, and then I was traveling every 3 months, and I was hosting
Wow.
retreats, and I was doing my online business, and I was very much I was doing a lot and I was being productive, but I was also just like building up a lot of inner resentment towards myself, and a lot of just inner conflict with myself, because I wasn't able to take a step back and actually like contemplate why I was doing these things for. And so
Yeah.
I talk about another book that really resonated with me during this time was Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And because I'm used to just always moving and always doing stuff, and then when I read his book, it really emphasized the how productive stillness is, and how I didn't really I meditated and did that kind of stuff, but I've never had like a leisure activity. I never had something that didn't relate to bettering myself as a fighter or as an entrepreneur. Everything
Yeah.
was related. And so that got me thinking of things that I could do I started reading fiction books. I never read fiction books, but like just doing things that are outside Muay Thai and entrepreneurship, that was really insightful to me. And then also just being
Yeah.
able to enjoy downtime, enjoy taking a nap in the middle of the day, enjoy sleeping in,
Yeah.
enjoy spending more time with my wife and just walking the dogs and like doing the little things. Because
Yeah.
especially as an American, as just like the hustle and grind culture that
Yeah.
America really values, and then also as a fighter, the hustle and grind every single day, trying to get better every
Yeah.
single day is also really instilled in people's minds. And then I've kind of been able to put a like release the gas pedals a little bit and just kind of coast a little bit more. And it's been so nice, and I've been able to see a lot more and be a lot more aware of the things I'm doing, as opposed to just having my head down in the dirt and not being able to take a look up and see what's around me, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I do totally. Yeah. It's it's almost like a blessing in disguise that all this happens, like almost like a reset for a lot of people from what I'm hearing, you know?
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, like you hear people saying, "Oh, I've never spent so much time with my family. I never knew," like how you said, you're just in this grind. You don't even realize. Even someone like you who a lot of people look up to and we say, "Wow, like amazing. Look at his life." Like, but you know, you also end up in the same situation as well, like everyone else, right?
Hmm. It's a
Yeah.
human condition, you know. We always find things to bitch and moan about, you know. And so no matter how
Yeah.
good life is, there'll always be something that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And
Very true.
yeah, it was definitely a tough time, and but we got through it, and yeah, just grateful for it all.
Now there's one more. I know we went a little bit longer. I'm sorry to cut into too much of your time.
No worries.
There's one, yeah, there's just one story I want to get. There's an interesting story of an incident that happened to you in Thailand.
Hmm.
Okay. And if you don't mind, I want to, if we can share that story, because I want to relate it to you being someone that started, you know, hockey fighting, this and that, starting Muay Thai as an American, complete American attitude, like I just want to be, you know, like a fighter and this and that. And, you know, and then relating that to, you know, someone who's a lifelong martial artist, Muay Thai practitioner, you rarely will get into a situation like this. So I just wanted to, if you don't mind, if we can talk about that incident
Yeah,
that happened to you guys in Thailand, which was actually quite
yeah, for
shocking.
sure. So this was August of 2020, and the island that we live on, we lived on Kopangan Island, which was the neighboring island. Very small island, not many people there, and we lived on the sea. And like, so in order to get to our house, we had to walk 5 minutes on the beach, and we were away from everyone. And it was really nice. It was quiet. It was secluded. And we were next to a couple resorts, but all the resorts were closed. And so usually there'd be people around, but at this time there was no one around. And so we were just kind of isolated out on the edge of the beach, like on the rocks on the sea. So uh, one night, my wife went out. She slept over at a friend's place, and I woke up and my laptop was gone. And I thought, like, oh, usually I misplace it. I'm like, I'm just an airhead. I get hit in the head. I smoke weed, and so I forget things, you know. And so I was like, oh, probably just lost it somewhere. But then, like, the day went on, and I couldn't find it. I'm like, damn, like someone must have actually, because like one of the, so we had three doors in our living room, and they're all sliding glass doors, and so it's easy to forget to lock one of them, and it was like the back one. And so he must have just snuck in and grabbed it. So I was like, fuck, that was like a $3,000 laptop. It's gone. Like that sucks. But I was like, it wasn't the biggest deal. I mean, I just bought it, and it's $3,000 and my laptop, but I was just grateful that like nothing worse happened. So
Yeah.
fast forward a week from there, um, it was around like midnight, and we were both asleep, and my wife sleeps next to the bedroom window. And mind you, like the bedroom window is on a cliff too, and there's just a really small spot that you can actually get to the outside of the bedroom window. And so she was
Okay.
sleeping, and she heard the lamp knock over. I heard the lamp knock over as well, but it was like a windy night. It's happened before where the lamp just falls over, right? And so we didn't think much of it. And then she was like half asleep, and she kind of opened her eyes, and she saw a hand reaching through the window, grabbing
Oh my
her
God.
cell phone and pulling the cell phone out. So she grabbed the cell phone and just started yelling and screaming. I wake up. I have no idea what the hell's going on, but then I hear someone else screaming on the outside of the house, and everyone just starts yelling. We all just start yelling. It's kind of silly when you look back at it. We all just
Chaos.
start yelling as loud as we can, you know, 'cause don't know what the
Yeah.
hell's going on. And so I go outside. I like tried to, because there's only one way to our house. It's on the beach. And so I went
Okay.
down to the beach to see like if he's still like if he's trying to get away, I'll see him. But I didn't see him. He wasn't on the beach or anything. So I got back to the house, and Liz was like, "Well, if you didn't see him on the beach, he's got to still be around here." And so
Oh my God.
behind the house is like the cliff, and there's just a couple there like leads to the roof. And so I had to climb up behind the house, and I didn't expect to find anyone. I was like, I don't know why. I didn't expect to like, you can't be this fucking stupid. Like who's gonna be here,
Yeah.
right? And
Or
so I
brave.
start
Yeah.
crawling through. Yeah, right. I started
Yeah.
just not crawling, but like I was like hunched over through this small little alleyway, and then I see a shadow figure in the corner of my eye, like behind in like a nook of the house, and it just I didn't know. I just reacted, and then I started just punching him in the face as much as I can. I probably one thing I can
Wow.
give him credit to is he can take a fucking punch, man. Because I must have
Wow.
punched him like 20 times, and he was still standing. And then my hand was so hurt by the end of
Yeah.
the melee of punches I did. I grabbed him, I kneed him, I threw an elbow, and then I grabbed him by the hair and pulled him down on the like terrace that we have. And it was fucking nuts, man. But we're on the beach, we're
Wow.
away from everyone, right? And so no
Yeah.
one is
Yeah.
here to help us. And so I held the guy, sat him down. I had Liz go run down the beach. She tried to find the closest place to figure out if we can get the cops involved and stuff. She did, but meanwhile, I'm watching over this guy. I'm fucking so mad, man. I actually went live on Instagram at the point because I didn't know what to do. I was just like so shook, and I had
Wow.
an adrenaline dump where I could feel my legs. I could feel. It's like if you ever done jujitsu and you ever been choked out, you could feel the darkness kind of come and like
Mm.
just like black
Yeah.
out,
Yeah. Closing
and that
in.
was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, and my legs started like wobbling, and my whole body started wobbling, and I fucking fainted, and my head hit the cement because we're on the porch. But then I
Oh
got
my
right back
God.
up, and the guy was like super, like he didn't know what the hell was going on. He was looking at me, and I was like, "Don't fucking look at me! Like, don't look at me!" And it was so bizarre. And then
That's
uh,
crazy.
long story short, I ended up dragging him on the beach to the cops. The cops didn't do shit. Uh, he didn't even stay the night in jail or
Wow.
anything. They let him out, and then he got away with a Kindle and some of Liz's rings. And yeah, it was
It's
fucking
terrible.
crazy, man. It was
That's
nuts.
insane. That's crazy. And you just reacted, like you just went boom.
I just
Like,
reacted, and like in
wow.
hindsight, man, I wasn't throwing good combinations. I wasn't like moving my head at
Yeah.
all. I
Yeah.
wasn't changing levels. I wasn't doing it. I was just fucking throwing
Yeah.
one twos
Just simple.
and a lot of
Yeah.
crosses, you know.
Oh man. My goodness. But very dangerous. He could have had like, if you weren't able to, like he wasn't leaving. So if you
No,
hadn't
and
done
I
something,
thought he could have had a weapon, and so I wasn't gonna
yeah.
stop until like I felt like I had control of the situation, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only place for him to leave was that other route. So,
Mhm.
this is a brave criminal. Like, and also to reach in,
Stupid.
like while
He's
someone's
stupid.
sleeping.
Because the thing
Wow.
is, too, in order for him to walk to where he walked to reach in the window, he has to walk through my like training area. I have heavy bags hanging up. I have Muay Thai gloves. I have posters of myself up. And so
He
this
knows. Yeah.
motherfucker was so stupid to like walk through this and be like, I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
steal from this house. Well, he got away with it once, but then he came back, fucking came back, and he had a
What?
$3,000 laptop, but he had to come back for more. It doesn't make any
Oh, okay.
sense.
Yeah. Sorry. He came back because the first time he got that, then he came back again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's creepy, man. Like you're sleeping there and you're out in the open. You don't know. That takes a lot of,
We had to move.
a
We had
lot
to
of,
move like
yeah.
a week or two after because like we couldn't sleep at night.
How do you
Like
after
we didn't
that?
sleep at all.
Wow,
Yeah, we didn't sleep
it's
at all.
unbelievable.
And like I've never felt something like that before. And it's definitely so. My wife worries about a lot, and I don't worry about shit. And so usually when she's like before the break-in, when she's like, "Oh, I think I hear something," or "Did I lock the doors?" I used to be like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, yeah, yeah," like whatever. But now I have to like actually get up and like check all the noises, check all the doors, and all
yeah,
that
because
kind
it
of
could
stuff.
be real.
So
Yeah, yeah, it's scary.
yeah, so now it definitely
Mm.
put things in perspective for sure.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. And you know what? I'm gonna wrap it up because I know I took a lot of your time. Thank you very
All right, I
much.
appreciate
And
it.
yeah, for everyone that joined and whoever watches the replay, hope you enjoyed it. Check out MuayThaiGuy.com and check out his amazing programs. Just follow his content. He's amazing. And thank you again, Sean Fagan. Appreciate your time,
I
buddy.
appreciate it, Paul. Thanks so much. I had a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
It was good doing the interview.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye bye.